Ambulances are very critical. They play a critical role, and they're expected to help save lives. But it appears that in our case, ambulances are rather sending us to our graves, our economic graves. Now, if you look at this whole thing, and you then realize that there is a strong correlation between the procurement, the contract to service, and the contract to procure spare parts and supply spare parts. So it looks like it's a whole ambulance kingdom, from procurement to servicing to procurement of parts. And you have the same actors. So same people set up 6 companies when the government comes to power without any track record. This thing is split. You take 40, take 30, take 40, take 30. Then they're supposed to bring these ambulances. Now, the issue of whether there was value for money is obviously what this audit is raising. Then you find out that the same people then set up a company and they are paid 115 million cedis to service these vehicles. And the Auditor General tells us that we were unable to pay 256,000 cedis for interest, for insurance, to secure 16 of these ambulances. So we could give 115 million for a company to do servicing, yet we couldn't pay 256,000 cedis to secure some of these ambulances. Then now you have the issue of spare parts, where we are able to approve a contract for 34-point-something million, ask for 10 million to be paid as far as this is concerned.
Look, I'm completely lost of words to describe the situation we find ourselves. You try...
So almost $55 million, 115 million cedis, and then now $34.7 million.
Look, you were kind by saying they are taking us to our economic graves. It is not only economic graves. They are actually taking us to our graves, really. Some of the ambulances that have crashed and killed sick persons and sometimes drivers who were driving those ambulances could have been saved if possibly proper servicing routine was followed. Because for some of them, you hear brake failure. Some of them, their brakes may not be functioning well. Some have poor tires, but they are forced to still be on the road because persons who have been given the contract to service them do not have the expertise and the capacity to do so. It's so clear from the Auditor General's report that indeed this Service Ghana Auto Limited have relied heavily on the National Ambulance Services staff to service the ambulances in some times and have charged the state to pay for the labor for using people the state is already paying. So clearly they do not have the capacity to be able to do what it is that we have given them the 34.9 million service contract to perform. So Justice Doche's comment.
Create, loot, and share.
Create, loot, and share. This time, I don't know how he would have described it, but I will take out the share. Randy, they are not sharing with anybody. It is create, loot, and introduce your word, kill. They are actually killing us because they have failed to service these ambulances. They have failed to insure them. They have failed to service them appropriately. So they are not even sharing with anybody. It's just one family. You clearly can see that it's just one family that have created a tree with many major roots and other roots. So you handle this, you handle that, you handle that. And that is why there is irregularity of payments for the same number of ambulances so supplied. And for some of them, first was an agenda. Oh, initially they thought just the purchase of the ambulances is where we should make the money. So they directed to register other companies. Majority of it was done when the government came to power. And so they shared the purchases to them. When they have finished that, then they realized, oh, there's a service contract that we must also chop from. And even though the National Ambulance Services had originally, they have some listed five that they've been using, they threw all that off and decided to push everything to this Service Ghana Auto Limited. Even before they got registered, they started taking contracts to engage in a service they did not have personnel to do. So, having benefited heavily with inflated prices of the ambulance, they now found another means. Oh, we have possibly finished utilizing that one. So let's see what we can do next. Let's go into the servicing area. Then when the minister who supervised that project and made the payment realized that he was about exiting, let me in a rush give approval to the service contract for $34 million and push for establishment of letters of credit for $10 million immediately. And ask them, go to National Health Insurance. It's possible to get the remaining of the money there. Unfortunately for them, because National Health Insurance formula now, we decided not to give them any free money. We decided not to leave any money free for them to be able to do the kind of things that they could do in the past. So they were unable to find money for that. And that is why even the 24.9, we haven't found anything yet. But at least letters of credit have been established for the 10 million. Randy, in the same Auditor General's report, in the introductory pages, he states clearly that the ministry that was responsible for the importation of those ambulances quote the total price of what? The purchases as $54.3 million or so, thereabout. That was how much it cost them. But when you move to page 24, paragraph 46 of the same report, where they were dealing with maintenance of the fleets and insurance, there, documents are provided again that shows the cost of each ambulance is what? $80,000. And 10% of the total cost, which is to be paid as premium, is $8,000. And for those ambulances that were involved in the accident, if they had insured them with premium, you either would have gotten a complete replacement because it's premium, and it wouldn't have cost you anything. Meanwhile, the same government have found 34.9 million just for servicing. Can you imagine?
How do you say that I can't find 256,000 cedis to pay insurance?
To pay insurance.
But I can find 115 million
for servicing. So
who does that? Who will spend 54 million to import something and not insure?
So clearly, Randy, when Kweku Kwati, former Deputy Minister of Finance and former Chairman of the Finance Committee, says we are running government like a Ponzi scheme, it goes way even more than he has talked about. Do you know that the John Dramani Mahama administration analyzed the energy sector debts and thought that there was a need to clear this. And per the analysis, per the figure, per the data that was available, which was globally analyzed, if we introduce a certain tax that runs for 4.5 years, Randy will be able to clear the debt and give comfort to the sector. The opponents then described the EXLA as a nuisance tax. That tax had a sunset clause. It was to run for just a certain period, deal with the debt, and off. Then we lost the 2016 elections and they come in. What do? They said, oh, well, we don't have to even wait for 4.5 years to be paying the debt in bits. Let's float bond called the ESLA PLC bond and get the money and retire that debt. And those who would have purchased the bonds, we will be paying them as we receive monies from what? The drop-ins from the ESLA levies. Randy, as we speak today, that debt is still there. Those who bought the bonds, they have given them haircuts. So what did you use the bond money for? Ponzi scheme. That's the type of government they are running. They did not end with just ESLA. They went to get fund. Also, oh, contractors are owed. So since money will be flowing in, let's establish a Dachi bond and let's take bonds and let's go for money. So we can settle the contractors. They took the money, but the contractors were not paid. They are still owed. So they have abandoned many of the school projects. Those who bought the Dachi bonds, they have been given haircut. Ponzi scheme. That's what we have as a government. And no wonder this is being repeated also in the ambulance deals. Why? What wrong did we commit? What wrong did Ghanaians actually commit to have this on them? We truly must watch out. Look, as politicians, I don't know how he feels, but I'm quite worried. I'm so worried.
About what?
About what is happening. And you see, Mr. Francis Poku spoke the last time at a function at the Kofi Adams Center. And he said something, and I agree with him. A lot of Ghanaians, they are only exercising patience, hoping that the next administration, under His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Dr. Baumia, who has participated in all these Ponzi schemes as chair of the economic management.
The next president, when you are marrying the next president,
why? You must... Dr. Baumia, you see, there are times...
Don't introduce a new subject.
There are times, Randy, that I don't want to. Do you know that this...
We don't have time. We need to be winding down.
So clearly, Dr. Baumia has participated effectively in this Ponzi scheme in many areas where he had changed even other conditions to conditions that later on happened and we saw clearly that they couldn't fulfill. But they are hoping that the John Dramani Mahama administration will be able to deal with these situations decisively.